This is the creepiest story I've got for Spooky Series Storytime in a while. It's called The Man at the Mailbox, and it's a creepy roommate storytime, and you know I love those. So this came from someone named Christine, and she says that last year she was looking for a new place to live in Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. She works in New Orleans, but needed to be somewhat close for work, but didn't really care necessarily if she was like in the city. So she finds this listing on Marketplace. She checks out the girl's profile who posted it, and the girl seemed normal enough, right? Like she's around her age, like late 20s, early 30s. And so Christine messages her. She's like, can I, come check out the house? And the girl says, yeah, let's, why don't you come this Saturday? And so Christine goes, and she said the house was cute. It was on a long parish road. There were other houses on the street. Like, they had neighbors, but there were no sidewalks in the neighborhood. It was obviously an older neighborhood with a lot of houses that hadn't been updated, but it was pretty much just what Christine was looking for. And so she's asking her, like, what are you looking for in a roommate? And this girl basically tells her, I'm not home a lot. I work at a bar. I work a lot of overnights, and I stay with my boyfriend a lot. So if you wouldn't mind helping me just like feed my cat some mornings when I'm not here, as long as you're clean and you're responsible, like, I don't really care. I'm not really here. Christine asked about the rent because she's like, I noticed that it's significantly cheaper than a lot of other places in the area. And the girl's like, well, I want to be upfront honest with you. Like, I actually own the house. I inherited it. It's like a family property. But I'm working a lot to save money because me and my boyfriend want to buy a nicer place. The guy listed it for a little bit cheaper because I'm not trying to take advantage of anyone, because I don't have a mortgage on this house, but I also am saving money. So that's why the price is what it is. And Christine's like, that sounds perfect. And she said the house was cute. It was decorated nicely, kind of sparse, had not been updated, but she didn't really care. Like, she just really needed a place to lay her head at night and to be able to pay her rent on time. So she moves in, and she doesn't really see her new roommate. We'll call Lauren for this story. She doesn't really see Lauren a lot for the first few days that she's living there, but Lauren did tell her that she works all the time. She's always working doubles. So Christine's mostly alone in this house, unpacking and just settling in. Lauren was polite enough, but didn't really go out of her way to make Christine feel like they were going to be friends. And Christine was honestly fine with that. But on the fourth night she's living there, she's unpacking some stuff in her bedroom. It's like 9 p.m. and she realizes that she had a package come as part of like her new bedroom set. And so she goes out to the porch to get it, and she notices that there's a man standing in the street, like kind of on the shoulder of the road, not exactly in the road, but not on their lawn either. And he's standing near their mailbox. He looks older. She said if she had to guess, he'd probably be in his 70s. He was stood with a cane, but other than that, his hands were just completely at his sides, and he was just staring at the house. Obviously, this is unsettling to Christine, so she runs back in the house with her package, and she immediately texts Lauren. And she's like, there's a man staring at the house. And Lauren doesn't answer. She knows she's at work, so she's like, okay. So she calls her mom, and she tells her mom about the man. And the mom's like, well, is he doing anything? And so Christine peeks out the window, and he's still just standing there staring at the house. And she's like, no, he's just standing there. And her mom's like, well, is he on your property? And Christine's like, no, he's standing in the road. And her mom's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, is it a good neighborhood? Like, did you check out the area? She's like, you can't really call the police for a man that's just standing, not even on your property. She's like, just keep an eye on him. If he comes closer to your door, obviously call the police, call me, whatever. So Christine's like unpacking this box in her room, and then she goes back to the window. It's like 10 or 15 minutes later, and she notices the man's gone. So she feels better. And she doesn't hear from Lauren again that night, but she wakes up in the morning, and Lauren's not home, but she has a text from her, and she says, oh, don't worry about it. That's just Carl. He's harmless. Christine's thinking to herself, like, who is Carl? So she texts her back, and she goes, well, does he live around here or something? Like, what's his deal? And Lauren, after a little while, texts her back, and she says, sorry, I slept with my boyfriend last night. He just has dementia or something, but if you see him again, don't look him in the eye because it upsets him. So Christine just texts her back, and she says, okay, I won't look him in the eye. And she's like, thinks that's weird, but, she's like, why wouldn't she have mentioned it to me? But also, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just this poor old man, right? So she goes about her day, doesn't really think about the situation again. That night, she goes out, meets some friends, comes back around 9 p.m. She's pulling into the long gravel driveway, which she said kind of wraps around the back of the house. And as she's pulling in, she notices the man's back, and he's standing at the mailbox again, staring at the house. Doesn't even look at her as she pulls past him in the driveway. Again, he's just kind of standing on this little gravel shoulder of the road. But it really creeped her out that he was out there again. So she decides she's going to go in the back door so he doesn't see her get out of her car. Like, she doesn't want to take any chances. So she goes in, she looks out the front window. She sees he's still standing out there the same way, hands at his sides with his little cane, staring at the house. So she's like, this is so weird. So she texts Lauren again, and she's like, Carl is back. He's staring at the house again. Like, how often does he do this? And a few minutes later, Lauren texts her back. She's like, sorry, I'm at work. He does this every night. He shows up at 9:03 and he leaves at 9:13. That gave Christine a bad feeling because she was like, I would be okay if it was just this random man who walked around the neighborhood. I guess sometimes if people looked out for him, but the fact that he comes to the house and stares at the house every night at 9:03 for 10 minutes and then leaves is weird. So she decides that the next time she sees Lauren, she's going to ask her more about Carl and like who he is and why he stares at the house. So another couple days go by, their schedules do not line up at all. So they don't really see each other besides in passing. And Christine didn't really want to bother Lauren like in passing about Carl because she really wanted to have a conversation about it. So she waits for a few more nights, and every night she's looking if she's home at 9:03 to see if Carl shows up. And he does. Every single night at 9:03, he stares at the house until 9:13. I don't know how long it was before she was actually able to talk to Lauren about this, but we'll say a week just for storytelling's sake. So she finally gets Lauren alone, and it's like 7 p.m. this one night. They're both home on a rare night, and Christine's like, okay, so can we talk about Carl? Like, what is his deal? Because I've noticed like he's out there every single night, like you said, at like 9:03 until 9:13. Like, what's he doing? How do you know who he is? And Lauren's just like, I don't know, he's been coming around since I've been coming here, since it was my grandma's house. He's always come to check on the house, and my grandma just said that he was a watcher and he was just watching the house. She liked to think that he was just making sure the house was taken care of. She thought maybe that he lived here at some point, but the whole neighborhood knows who he is and kind of looks out for him. And Christine's like, well, does he look at anybody else's house? And she's like, no, just ours. Christine's like, I'm sorry, like that's weird to me. So you mean that every single night that you've lived here, he has been staring at your house for like 10 minutes? And Lauren's like, yeah, like just nonchalant. She's watching TV. She's like having this conversation. And Christine's like, and you don't know where he came from or where he lives or anything? And Lauren's like, no, but I told you, like, he doesn't bother anyone as long as you don't look him in the eye. And Christine's like, what happens if you do look him in the eye? And Lauren's like, I don't know. I never did it because my grandma always told me not to look him in the eye, and I just trusted her. And she's getting like noticeably upset as they're having this conversation. So Christine just decides she's going to drop it. She's like, okay, I didn't mean to press. It was just like a little bit weird for me to move in here and then have this man staring at the house every night. But if you're telling me he's harmless, I believe you. Lauren's like, yeah, it's cool. Do you want to watch a movie? Changes the subject. And Christine's like, yeah, sure, let's watch a movie and hang out, because they hadn't really had a chance to. So they watch a movie. Everything is normal. And after the movie ends, Christine's like, oh, do you want to like watch another movie or like watch a comedy special or something? And Lauren's like, no, I think I'm going to go to bed. And it's like 8:58, and she notices that she walks to the door, turns off the porch light, goes in her room and locks the door. So at this point, Christine is like, okay, I know a little bit more about Carl. I'm going to like check him out tonight. Like, I'm going to see what he does. So like 9:01, she opens the blinds and she's staring outside because she wants to see where he's coming from. And she notices she can see a little shadow coming up the street at 9:03, and he's walking with like a limp, like he's dragging one of his feet, but she knows he walks with a cane. So she watches him walk up to the house, stand, take position, and stare at the house. Not moving. He barely seems to be blinking. He obviously does not see her staring at him through the window. And the minutes pass, and she's watching him, and he's not moving. And it's 9:08, 9:09. And finally, curiosity gets the best of her. And she's like, I want to see what happens if I look him in the eye. She says she knows she shouldn't have done it, but what would you have done in that situation? So she walks outside. She doesn't even flinch when she opens the door. So she walks out to the point in the sidewalk in front of him where she's making eye contact with her. Waves at him, but he doesn't flinch. And she said it felt like he was staring into the depths of her soul. So after a minute, she's like, okay, this is weird. Like, he's not even moving. He's not even acknowledging me. Nothing's happening. He doesn't seem upset. So she decides she's going to go back in the house, and she goes back to her position in the window, and she's still watching him. It's 9:12. It's 9:13. But then he doesn't leave, and he stays an additional 4 minutes. It's 9:17 when she sees him turn back toward the direction from which he came and walk back up the street, dragging his foot behind him. She thinks it's weird, but obviously Lauren was right. Like, he's harmless. He didn't do anything. So she goes to sleep, doesn't really think much about it. The next day comes and goes, and around 4 p.m. that day, she gets a text from Lauren. Like, she's out, she's at work, and Lauren texts her, and she says, did you look at Carl last night? And Christine lies to her. She's like, well, I accidentally went outside when he was out there, and I accidentally made eye contact. And Lauren texts her back in all capitals. She said, why would you do that? I told you never to look him in the eye. When she gets home from work, Lauren's sitting in the living room, and she just looks like she's stressed. And she tells Christine to go look at the mailbox. And so Christine goes out to the mailbox, and she notices it's packed full of dirt and feathers. And she comes back in, and she's like, what is happening with the mailbox? And Lauren's like, well, who do you think did it? You looked him in the eye, and I told you it upsets him. So Christine's like, well, what's with the dirt and feathers? And Lauren's like, I don't know, but now he'll be here at 9:02. Christine's like, I feel like you're not telling me something about this house, or like Carl's story, or like, how do you know his name is Carl if you've never met him? And she goes, that's just what we call it. And she goes, what do you mean it? And she goes, listen, my grandmother, when she left this house to my mom, who didn't want the house, left it with a set of rules. Goes to the kitchen, goes in a little junk drawer, comes back with a note card that's in her grandmother's handwriting. And she's like, my grandmother left this to my mom, who left it to me. The card says, before we owned this land, it was a plantation. Before that, it was a swamp. Since our family has owned it, Carl has been coming. Do not look him in the eye. We call him Carl because it makes him smaller. And Christine's like, well, hold on, because you told me that Carl might have lived here before. And she goes, no, that's just what I told you to make you feel better about it, because we don't know what it is. She goes, I got this house because my mom didn't want it, because she hadn't heard from my grandmother for a few days. So she came over here to check on her, and she found her stood petrified at the mailbox. Christine's like, what do you mean petrified? And Lauren's like, she died there, standing up. My mom always thought it had to do with Carl, but Carl never bothered me, and I've seen him here since I've been coming here since I was a little girl. I just figured if I could avoid looking at him, everything would be fine. Christine's like, the neighbors didn't notice that your grandmother was dead at her mailbox. Lauren tells her she doesn't feel like the situation is working out and she's asking too many questions, and she asks her to find another place to live. She's like, I'll give you another month, another 2 months, however long it takes, but I don't think you should stay here. She's like, this isn't a good fit. And that night, Carl came at 9:02 p.m. Stayed till 9:17. She doesn't know what happened. She moved out. She's like, I know it sounds insane, but I swear it really happened.
Okay, first of all, moving into a house where the rent is suspiciously cheap is horror movie rule number 1. You just don't do it. But this girl, Lauren, the roommate, is acting entirely too casual about a random 70-year-old man standing at the mailbox every single night. At 9:03 p.m., that level of precision is terrifying. And the fact that Lauren's response is basically, oh, that's just Carl, don't look him in the eye, is insane. You don't just drop Laura like that and go back to watching TV. But the ending, her grandmother was found petrified, dead standing up at the mailbox, and they still live there? They call him Carl to make him smaller? Shh, listen to me. If a house comes with a handwritten index card of survival rules, you pack your bags and you break the lease immediately. No cheap rent is worth dealing with whatever demonic entity is doing a 10-minute shift at your driveway. But honestly, as terrifying as ghosts and paranormal watchers are, the scariest monsters are usually just regular guys walking around a college campus.
I think I've met 2 psychopaths in my life, and unfortunately one of them is actually probably married to my friend. And I don't mean psycho as in like, oh, he's crazy, he's like violent. I mean like, you probably have bitches chopped up in your basement. Like, would not shock me at all. I met him when I was living on the East Coast for a year. I did not like him the moment I met him. Hairs on the back of my neck, standing up, creepy, weird. I really didn't like him. When I found out some stories about him, basically my friends were friends with his girlfriend and she went to a different school, but she would tell them that they had this like sexual fantasy that they would play out where she would hide somewhere in her house and he would act like an intruder. She would turn off all of her lights, he would act like an intruder and drag her out of her hiding place, and she would be like kicking and screaming. This man had like defensive wounds on his body, like scratches and shit, and I'm asking my friends, I'm like, is this consensual? Like, are we sure that this is consensual, just knowing the nature of him and how he's like manipulative and a liar? And they're like, well, she said it is. And I'm like, well, did you like really ask her? Like, are we like making her feel comfortable? That wasn't really their MO. And so I never knew about what happened there. They end up breaking up. Worst case scenario, he ends up really wanting to go after one of my friends, who is like the most innocent human on the entire planet. Mind you, this is her freshman year of college. She has not drank. She's not had her first kiss. She has not had sex, okay? She's religious. She doesn't want to do any of these things because she feels guilty, right? She still believes in this religion. And so he's pressuring her to have sex. And I'm like, dude, stop doing that. I literally tell him, I'm like, you know she doesn't want to do that. If you actually care about her, you'll respect her wishes and you'll stop trying to make her. And he's like, she's a big girl. She can decide. I'm like, you're right. She is a big girl and she can decide, but you're coercing her. It's different. And he was like, I don't care. I'm like, oh my fucking God. But this man is also like serially cheating on her, right? Like, we hear stories and stuff, but like never have any evidence. Finally, one of my friends, very close, lived with me, saw him cheating on her, literally witnessed with her own 2 eyes. And so I'm like, perfect, you're gonna tell her, right? Because we're both friends with her. And she goes, no. I'm like, why the fuck not? And she's like, well, because I'm friends with him too. First of all, who the fuck cares? Second of all, you should tell her. And she's like, no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. I'm like, well, can I tell her then? And she's like, sure. So I end up telling her. I call her into my room. I'm like, hey girl, I have from a very credible source, mind you, the source is sitting next to me, that your man was making out with a girl last night and she watched him make out with her for like 5 minutes in the front lawn. And then actually he ended up bringing her home to his dorm room. She might be in there right fucking now. And she's like, oh my God, who told you? And I'm like, actually, unfortunately, I can't tell you. They asked not to be named. And mind you, the source is sitting next to me, right? And she's like, well, it would really make a difference if I could just talk to that person. I'm like, well, that person doesn't want you to know who they are. So unfortunately, I can't tell you. Fucking crickets from this stupid bitch, right? And so she ends up running over to his dorm room to see if the bitch is still there. The bitch has left. She found evidence of the girl being there, okay? But he somehow manipulates her, tells her this crazy ass story, tells her that I'm a fucking liar and that I'm making all this shit up. And why would she believe me saying some random person saw it and not believe her actual boyfriend telling her? And I'm just like, I can only do so much. And so this like source is friends with this man, right? And so he's in our dorm room kicking his feet and like laughing and joking with her on the bed. And I'm fuming. I'm like, I don't even know how you can look at this man. He's literally such a fucking asshole. And he turns around and he looks at me and goes, so I heard that you told her that I cheated on her. And like smiles. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Why the fuck did you do that? And he was like, honestly, I don't really care. Like, I'm just trying to, like, have sex because she won't do it. I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to keep fucking telling her. And he laughs and he goes, you really think she'll ever believe you? She will always believe me over you. And gives me like the most chilling, sinister, evil fucking smile I have ever fucking seen. Dead in his eyes. I swear to God. I was looking at that man and I'm like, I can't convince you to give a shit about being a good person. You're actually just fucking crazy. And it goes on like this for years. Literally years and years and years. He ends up like psychologically torturing her. He just treats her like shit. She's constantly nervous. She's always on edge. She's crying all the time. She's depressed. She wants to go home. It was like so fucked up to watch. And it pisses me off that like this source never told, because like you could have saved her. She is now married to this man. She is now married to this man and she will probably stay with him forever. And so if your friends are in a bad situation, make sure you check in on them. Make sure you're honest with them. Obviously, they will only leave when they're ready, but like, try to be as accountable as you can. And girl, if you're watching this, you know who you are. I hope you're doing okay, and you can always call me.
This makes my blood boil. The absolute audacity of this guy, coercing a girl who is clearly not ready, cheating on her constantly, and then manipulating her into thinking everyone else is lying. That is textbook narcissism. But the moment that actually sent chills down my spine was when he was sitting on the bed laughing and gave that dead-eyed, sinister smile. She will always believe me over you. Ugh, that is a predator. He isolated her, broke down her reality, and the tragic part is, it worked. She married him. It is so incredibly hard to watch a friend go down that path, and you feel so helpless when they refuse to see the truth. The girl telling the story did exactly what she was supposed to do. She warned her, but you can't force someone to take off the blinders if they aren't ready. And if you think that college guy was bad, wait until you hear what happens when a manipulator actually manages to trap you in their house.
I lived in a frat house, and you're probably wondering, like, why would I voluntarily choose that? I fear me getting into story times is dangerous. I have a lot of lore. Buckle in. I graduated college early, and I wasn't even in college when I lived at the frat house. I should have been, but I wasn't. Like, I had already graduated. In college, I did bodybuilding. I tried the sorority thing, and it really wasn't for me. So I just, like, got out there as quick as possible. Met this man, this frat man, the pledge master at the gym. When we met, I had just finished doing 3 years of bodybuilding, and I didn't drink. I was sober in college. All I did was work out and prep. And for me, he represented what I missed out on in college. Missed out on. Me and this man, we go on our first date to, like, a college bar and did like Irish car bombs, and I was just like, oh my God, you're like the coolest guy ever. And within 2 weeks of knowing each other, we book a trip to Spain. Now, I'm living alone at the time. However, I live in kind of a undesirable neighborhood because I had just graduated. I was serving, like I didn't have a corporate job. Where I lived was honestly a little ghetto. Like I'd heard gunshots before, and I saw someone getting carried out of their apartment in a body bag. Like, the lore, you guys, you're not ready. We get really close really fast. We start dating really, really soon, blah, 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 all the things. In my apartment, things start to go missing. Like, my passport went missing, underwear were going missing, and then my car lights, my headlights, he pointed out to me, he's like, somebody changed them because they were out. And I was like, who would just change my headlights? Like, that's so weird. And he started to gaslight me that somebody was stalking me and breaking into my apartment, stealing my belongings, and that those people had changed my headlights. I called my dad and I'm like, can you believe this is going on? Like, I'm not safe here, blah, 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 blah. And my dad's like, do you think it could be the new guy you're dating? Because, like, I don't just get stalkers that often, right? Like, no, he's perfect. He's the pledge master at the frat. He's a stand-up guy. I think I'm 20, 21, right around there. And I think 6 months was, like, a little bit of an exaggeration. I think I lived in the frat house for, like, 3 or 4 months. And all I did was go to work and I came home. Like, I didn't have much of a social life back then. Work, home, gym, boyfriend. Work, home, gym, boyfriend. Work, home, gym, boyfriend. That's what I was on. I became scared of living in my apartment. Also because it was, like, ghetto and, like, it would be easy to break into. And, like, I could have had a stalker from, like, my serving job or stuff like that. Like, I really started to become scared of living there. I genuinely thought I didn't have anywhere to go. That was my reality. Fast forward, I now know that that was all him doing all of those things. And to this day, like, he had held on to my original passport. I had to get a replacement passport so that we could go to Spain. Like, that's how far the gaslighting went. That's how deep the gaslighting went. I set up a camera in my apartment to see if people were coming over, and then like after that, all of the weird stuff stopped happening. Now we're getting into this relationship. This relationship was nuts. I'll probably have to do a part 2. Now, my digestive system, I'm not kidding, my literal colon stopped working. It was from bodybuilding, it was from the extreme dieting, it was from all of the really extremes that I lived in my life, and I started living a more normal life, and my literal colon stopped functioning, like full functioning. I didn't go to the bathroom for 20 days. So within like 3 or 4 months of knowing this person, like my colon stops working. I'm hospitalized. My dad flies out. We think I'm dying. Like my whole family's there. We get it figured out, whatever. But then a month later, my dad passes away, okay, at 41. I am with this man as I get the call that my dad's being like flight for life across, Denver, and I like have to book a trip. I have to get on a flight. I have to go. And this man's like, I'm going to drive there tonight from Arizona. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, but thank you for being there for me. And my dad always had a little like, I'm not sure about that guy because of like the original situation. But for me at the time, it felt destined that they had met, right? Like I was like, oh my God, like you met him right before, and he was on life support for like 2 weeks, and we ended up staying in Colorado the whole time, and he was next to me at the funeral, and a full-on trauma bond was completely born between all of these experiences together. Boom, 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 back to back to back, and I was a child. About 3 weeks after my dad passes away, it's his birthday, and we're back at the frat house, baby. We go out with all of the brothers, and I was never the girl that was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know their names, of the guys living in the house. Like I hid in the room with my dog. My dog and I lived in one room of the frat house. Anyways, we go out, he gets classically frat drunk, and he was always looking through my phone and like always like wondering where I was and all the narcissist things. Who are you with? Who are you talking to? Are you flirting with that guy at the gym? Like, who's this guy in your DMs? Blah, 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 blah. He's so drunk that he gives me his phone on his 21st birthday. And I look through it because you're always looking through mine. I have an opportunity. I'm going to look through it. Oh my God. This man, this man was sexting another girl the week of my dad's funeral. We were together. This man was next to me, and I was so sad. My dad was very close to me. Your dad's your dad, and so I'm coming off of all of these traumatic experiences, and I literally find proof that he's sexting another girl like at my dad's funeral next to me. And I that night like freaked out, whole thing, like it was a whole thing. And the next day, somehow this man gaslit me into they're just friends, and she just got out of a relationship and she was just horny and he was being there for her. And like looking back, and I'm a life coach now, like looking back, I've gone through all the healings, I've dissected this a million times and all the things, but looking back, I now see that I didn't even want to admit to myself that was actually happening. I proceeded to date this man for another year, and it really did actually lead me into a psychotic episode. So, I mean, I had my own stuff for sure, but this story ends with me at the mental hospital. So I guess I'm not afraid to be seen. I mean, I'm really not, like, I'm not ashamed, but this is a lived experience. And like, I can't believe that I was at the frat house. I experienced sandwich night above sandwich night, and I proceeded to think that this man could offer me my dream life and was going to be the solution to my problems. But that is a true narcissistic relationship for you, and it is jarring how much influence they can have over your brain, over your psyche, and yeah, I was really weak. I had no option but to live there in my brain at the time.
I need to take a deep breath for this one. This is one of the most harrowing progressions of a relationship I have ever heard. She moved into a frat house, which, okay, questionable choice, but she was vulnerable. She was isolated, and this man systematically manufactured a reality where she was in constant danger. Stealing her underwear, taking her passport, changing her car's headlights just to convince her she had a stalker so she would rely entirely on him. That is diabolical. And then, the ultimate low. Her father passes away, she is mourning, and he is sitting right next to her at the funeral, texting another girl. The human body keeps a score, you guys. Her colon literally shutting down was her body screaming that she was in a deeply toxic, unsafe environment. I am just so glad she survived to tell this story, because people like that will drive you to the edge of your sanity and convince you it was your idea. We expect romantic partners to break our hearts sometimes. But when the betrayal comes from your own blood, the wound is infinitely deeper.
I went no contact with my sister, and in that time, she passed away. No contact with my sister because she was sending my nephew clothes and shoes to my house, and I later found out that those were actually... I was on the phone with my sister while she was on the phone with FedEx. She was speaking to them because they somehow lost my nephew's package. She ordered some sneakers from Foot Locker, and they had lost the package, or they misdelivered it or something. She then asked me, can she start using my address instead? Back then, my sister was living in an extended stay, and I was living in a house with my husband and our kid. During this time, I could already tell that my sister just wasn't the same. Like, something had changed about her. She wasn't like the same. Something had happened, but I had no idea how extent it was. I later found out, but I had no idea that she was into the things that she was into. At first, I was reluctant in her using my address. I did bring up our mom and see if she could, use her address. However, my mom doesn't live in the same state as we did, so it didn't make any sense for my sister to ship things to my mom and then for her to ship things back. It just didn't make any sense. At this time, my sister and I didn't have any beef. We didn't have any hard feelings. It was like we were talking. So at the time, I didn't mind her using my address for my nephew because I'm like, it's my nephew. Yeah. But that was the vulnerable spot right there. Like, getting to me through my nephew. That was the vulnerable spot. My sister would come to my house to pick up her packages. I never looked at them, y'all. I never had a clue or thought to look at them. I just was thinking that she was buying my nephew stuff and she was coming to pick up her packages. Like, I never cared to look at her packages, never opened them, never cared to see where they were coming from until one day. One day my sister reached out to me and she was very antsy, very anxious, very just overly telling me she's coming to get her package. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But she kept texting me and saying, don't worry, I'll come to get it. Don't worry. It just kept making me anxious. And now I'm like, okay, well, what's in the package? Something told me to just look in the package, Brittany, just look in the package. On this particular day, I'm in my window and I can see the mailman putting the mail in the mailbox. My sister has already told me that she's on her way. But I'm like, okay, you know what? If he's done by the time, before she gets here, I'll go pick the package up. As soon as I said that, y'all, he closes the mailbox, drives off. I was like, okay, let me hurry up and go over there and get the package for, see what's up. So when I got the package, I immediately was calm because it was like a mailer. It was a long mailer. It looked like some clothes was in it. It looked like clothes. So I was like, okay, cool. This is my nephew's clothes, whatever. But something said, no, Brittany, open it. Something said, open it and see. When I opened that package, I was so distraught. I was so speechless. I was angry. I was in disbelief. I was like, I know this ain't what I think it is. I know this ain't what in my house where I pay bills. This house has my name, my social security, everything attached. This is my real stuff. I don't care what people be doing out here. This is in my real name. My kids here, my husband. All I kept thinking about was the thought process in doing something like this. You willingly ordered or whatever, put something in the mail, use my address, use our name, because my name, her and I had the same last name. You didn't care to think how this looked. If this package would have got seized, how was I going to come out of it? Because it looked like I'm in on this. It's literally coming to my address and we have the same last name. You didn't care about none of that. So it's the thought process is crazy. But even more damaging than that, I asked my sister to her face, what did she order? Because when her package came, I hid it. I was not giving that to her. No, I was not giving it to her because I was not supporting her lifestyle for that. You did not move here for that. And this ain't you. So my sister has never done anything like this, never lived like this. We were never raised like this. What are you doing? What are you doing? I asked her, what was in your package? And she lied to me. She lied straight to my face and said that they were meal preps. Meal preps. I said, okay. So Yeah, we went no contact because when the truth came out and I said it and I told everybody, our family, what I had found, she did not care. You know, she did not care. She denied it, which was crazy. I have receipts. She denied it. And yeah, that was it for me, because not only was that diabolical, you were willing to put myself and my family in danger. You didn't think about what could happen to us. And even if you did, you still did it. So that's why I went no contact. And for people who asked me what I did with her package, I disposed it. I got rid of it. I didn't want it near my house, near my children. God forbid my children get into it. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I wanted it far away from my house and my family as possible, because I do not get down like that. I don't care if nobody else do, but I don't get down like that. And how dare someone use my address to do something like that? That was very hard. That was very, very hard for me. And so when my sister was on her deathbed, essentially, I had to just chop it up and say, I love you and I forgive you. And I was there through my sister's end of life, speaking with her doctors. Like I said, going through her my charts, speaking with everybody, nurses, doctors, social worker. My sister didn't have insurance. We had to figure out her health insurance. All these little things that I was in on taking care of. And my last encounter with my sister was her doing that to me. So it's very hard and traumatic, very.
Let's get one thing straight. You do not mess with a mother's home. You do not mess with a family's sanctuary. What her sister did was beyond reckless. It was a profound violation of trust. Using your sister's address with the same last name to receive illegal packages? If the police had intercepted that, her kids could have been taken away. Her husband could have been arrested. And when confronted, the sister lied to her face and said it was meal preps. It is so heartbreaking when you have to go no contact with a sibling, but she had to protect her children. And the fact that she still showed up at the end of her sister's life, sorting out medical charts and forgiving her on her deathbed, that shows incredible grace. She gave her sister a peaceful exit that her sister honestly didn't earn. That takes a painfully strong person. Okay, I don't know about you, but my emotional bandwidth is completely fried right now. We desperately need a palate cleanser.
My little sister works at an adult store where they sell adult products, and she gets an employee discount. Now, a couple days out of every month, she gets like an additional discount on top of her existing employee discount. And what a treat. As a big sister, what a treat to get to piggyback off of such a thing. Now, a couple months ago on FaceTime, we were like, okay, double discount days coming up. Let's browse online and see if there's anything worth taking home. And I saw a purple object for insertion that had foreskin. It had the skin. I was like, that's fascinating. I want to take that home. Add that to the cart for me. And she did, like any good little sister would. She adds it to the cart and she puts it in this box in her house of things that she was gonna bring to me in New York. She visits me pretty frequently, though she lives many states away. And she was like, I'll bring you that. I'll bring you this t-shirt that I have for you. I'll bring you these purses that I thrifted for you for your birthday. La la la, next time I come to New York. Her cat peed in the box. Ming Ming the cat peed in the box. She says, hey Diva, do you still want this stuff? It's got piss on it, but I think the object for insertion is fine because it's still in the box. I said, you can toss the t-shirt, try to wash the purses if you can, and I will take the object if it's still enclosed in the packaging. She brings me the purses, which also are fine and very cute, and the object. And the object itself, not really my favorite. Like, it just feels the same as a regular, doesn't matter. That's not the point of this. That's not the point of why I'm telling you this. I was washing all of my objects for insertion yesterday in my bathroom sink. And as I was washing them, drying them, I was putting them back in this like little blue silken drawstring bag that I keep them in. And as I'm putting them into the blue silken bag, I was like, this is a really nice bag. Where did I get this? It's like the perfect size, it's the perfect shape. What is it from? Because I thought I remembered that it's from something important. It wasn't one that came with any of my objects for insertion. I'm thinking. And suddenly it hits me. Why this blue silken bag feels like it has some sort of significance to me. It's because it's the bag that the vet handed me my deceased dog's ashes in. It's the bag that her urn was delivered to me in, the little wooden box, the little cedar box that has the remains of my beloved Chilu that sits on my bedside table that I talk to every morning while I'm doing my makeup. That box is what the silken bag that I keep my objects in, that's where it's from. It's just a surreal moment in any woman's life, you know? When you realize that the purple foreskin dildo that your little sister bought you with her sex shop employee discount on double discount day is being stored in the bag that your late dog's ashes were delivered to you in? Coming of age of sorts, I don't know.
I'm sorry. What did I just listen to? I am crying. First of all, the sisterly bonding over double discount day at the adult store is iconic. We love a supportive sibling. But the cat peeing on the box, the casual handoff of the items, and then the realization. You are washing your purple item, and you casually slip it into a beautiful silken blue drawstring bag. And then it hits you. It's the earn bag for your deceased dog. Oh my God. She called it a surreal coming-of-age moment in any woman's life. No, ma'am. That is a highly specific, totally unhinged sequence of events that only you have experienced. Rest in peace to the dog. But honestly, thank you for this story because we desperately needed to laugh. Now that we've taken a breather, let's look at one final story. A story that beautifully captures the pain of betrayal, but more importantly, the power of taking your life back.
A year ago today, I got engaged and later found out he cheated on me the same day he proposed. So I thought we would reflect on February 21st together on how crazy that is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's really not funny. It was really traumatizing. Like this morning, I woke up not sad because of him. There's no reason I would ever want to be with someone like that, but more so just like weighing on me the grief of when I believed people were inherently good. I went through 23 years of life believing in the good of people always as the default, and I feel like in the last year, one of my biggest takeaways has been there are some evil people out there. There are fake people, there are liars, and I just hadn't run into that, and that's a privilege. I hadn't run into that for 23 years. So anyway, let's just ramble, let's just get into it. So a year ago today, we were living in Orange County in this cute little apartment. He was training there, and I just remember waking up and feeling those excited jitters. I was 90% sure that he was gonna propose this day. There were so many hints swirling around, and I just remember feeling like a little girl. Growing up as a girl, I feel maybe this is part of the patriarchy, I don't know. I always just pictured a beautiful setting, music, flowers, and I don't know, you think about this moment, it's a big first, it's a big step in life, it's a milestone. So I just remember feeling that giddy, oh my gosh, is my life gonna take this next step in this direction? I love this guy, I'm so excited about this. I don't know, I just remember feeling like, wow, this is gonna be a really big day. Woke up together, spent the morning together. We ended up going to this reptile zoo, which is right up my alley. He had flown out his hairstylist and her son, so we went the four of us, and it was so much fun. Came back to our apartment and started getting ready. I'm getting a little bit more nervous. I'm like, is this really happening? Putting on this white dress that the photographer had picked out for me. Shout out Sydney. We're going to a photo shoot. I should say that. That's what I thought was happening. We arrived to this beautiful venue in the hills, and I remember walking down this driveway, and I hear music, and I see this gorgeous floral setup right out of my dreams that I had as a child. He gets down on one knee, he puts the ring on my finger. I just remember saying, oh, my cheeks hurt so much from smiling. I was so happy. I remember just looking back and being like, this is going to be one of the happiest days of my life. And we ended up going to the beach after, did a little beach photo shoot. The pictures were gorgeous, and ended up going to our engagement dinner, got a little sushi, and headed back to our apartment. Now, knowing what I know now, this was his timeline for the day. So he woke up, and he texted his ex-girlfriend and texted her this. It's gross, so I wouldn't say those words. Then proceeded to go through the same day I did, and he gets down on one knee, he proposes, we commit to each other for the rest of our lives, marriage, crazy concept. We go to our engagement dinner, I just said all these things. Then we get home from our engagement dinner, and then he texts her this. And for some reason, you cheat before and after you propose, the morning of and the night. That's just something I will never understand. I've given up on trying to understand how someone can be that evil. I think you just have to be a sociopath, and that's just it at the end of the day. But in that video I posted back in May, one of the last things I said was, if I can make one woman feel seen, heard, or understood, or aid in a journey of healing, then I've accomplished what I set out to do. I got such an overwhelmingly positive response on that video, and I had so many women reaching out to me for doing exactly that, and that's really special to me. That's why when people are like, stop talking about this, get over it, I'm like, now that I do have a platform and I have women that look to me in a way as someone that's gone through something like this really bad, and a lot of them I've had personal conversations with and we've bonded over things like this. I don't want to stop talking about these issues, and if I had to have the devil in disguise as a fiance and I had to go through that, then let me utilize the blueprint of a bad, shitty man to promote conversations about healing and create a community of women. That is what I want to do. That's what I would want this platform to be about, stingrays and healing. But anyway, I just think all of that is to say, men ain't shit. I'm just kidding. No, really. I think it's all about community. It's all about coming together. This is just one little example of there's a lot to say about that man, and the story will come out eventually. This was just me reflecting on 1 year ago today. But yeah, if I can make one person feel seen, heard, or understood, then I've accomplished my purpose, and that is why I'm here sharing this today. Don't you dare try to silence me again. So, I do love you guys. Bye.
This is the epitome of living a double life. The morning of the engagement, he texts his ex. He goes through an entire day of creating a core romantic memory. He gets down on one knee, promises her forever, smiles for the cameras, and then, that very same night, he texts the other woman again. She hit the nail on the head. You have to be a sociopath to operate like that, to look the person you supposedly love in the eye, make a lifelong commitment while actively betraying them in the shadows. But what I absolutely love about her is her perspective now. She didn't let him ruin her. She said, let me utilize the blueprint of a bad man to promote conversations about healing. That is how you win. You take the trauma they gave you, and you build an empire of community out of it. You know, sitting here and processing all of these stories back to back, it really forces you to take a hard look at the concept of trust. Trust is the invisible currency we use to navigate every single day of our lives. When we wake up, we trust that the floor will hold our weight. We trust that the people driving on the other side of the road will stay in their lane. And, most importantly, we trust that the people we let into our homes, our families, and our hearts are operating with the same basic moral compass that we are. But as we've seen today, that is a terrifyingly fragile assumption. Think about the very first story. That phrase the roommate used to recall him Carl to make him smaller really stuck with me. It is such a profound coping mechanism. When we are faced with something terrifying, something we cannot comprehend or control, human beings have a tendency to shrink the threat in our minds just so we can function. That roommate normalized a literal supernatural stalker just to get through the day, but isn't that exactly what we do in our real lives too? Remember when we heard about that college guy? The one who gave that chilling, dead-eyed smile and manipulated a young, innocent girl into marriage? Shh. Her friends tried to warn her, but she couldn't see it. She called him her boyfriend, she gave him grace, she made his monstrous behavior smaller so she could survive the cognitive dissonance, and the girl who lived in the frat house? Her boyfriend was systematically breaking into her apartment, hiding her passport, and cheating on her during her father's funeral. Yet, for an entire year, she stayed. She convinced herself he was her protector, completely blind to the fact that he was the predator creating the danger in the first place. We minimize red flags because acknowledging them means our entire reality has to collapse. It is deeply unsettling to realize that the most dangerous environments aren't always dark alleys or haunted houses on parish roads. Sometimes the danger is sitting right next to you at the dinner table. It's your own sister using your address, your sanctuary, the place where your children sleep to traffic illegal packages, risking your entire family's freedom without a second thought. That is a betrayal that cuts straight down to the bone. It shatters the social contract we inherently have with our blood relatives. But if we look closely at all of this, a very cynical counter-argument starts to form. You might ask yourself, well, if people are this manipulative, if a fiance can propose to you beautifully at sunset and text his ex-girlfriend in the dark, is it our fault for trusting too blindly? Should we all just build massive walls and suspect everyone? It's tempting. Lord knows it's tempting, especially when the universe is chaotic enough that you might accidentally store an adult toy in your late dog's memorial bag. Life is messy, absurd, and deeply unpredictable, but the real takeaway here isn't to stop trusting. The vulnerability required to love someone, to share a home with them, to forgive a sister on her deathbed despite her awful choices, that is not a weakness. That is the ultimate flex of human strength. Sociopaths and manipulators exploit the social contract, yes, but they do not own it. Look at the woman in our final story. She spent 23 years believing people were inherently good, and even after facing the ultimate romantic betrayal, she didn't let that man turn her bitter. Instead, she took the blueprint of his lies and used it to build a community. She used her pain to make other women feel seen and understood, and that is exactly what we have to do. We share these stories not to scare each other into isolation, but to educate, to validate, and to protect one another. So I want to leave you with this question to think about tonight when you look at the Carls in your own life, the red flags you might be ignoring. The toxic behaviors you might be minimizing just to keep the peace. Are you making them smaller because they are harmless? Or are you making them smaller because you're afraid of what you have to do if you acknowledge how big they really are? Let me know down in the comments. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.